Got empty bottles piling up? Turn them into stunning decor and unique gift ideas with just a little bit of paint. Let's transform waste into beauty. So the first step before painting our glass bottles is that we want to clean it off with some rubbing alcohol, because acrylic doesn't adhere well if there's any oil residue on your bottle, either from the oils from your hands or food or anything. So we're just gonna take a normal, this is a kitchen sponge, and I'm gonna pick up some white paint on it, and I'm going to start dabbing it at the bottom. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up some pink paint. Now I'm gonna have the recipe for this paint mixture in the description below if you're interested, and I'm just gonna blend that right into the white. I'm not gonna clean off my sponge, I'm gonna use the same sponge, and I'm gonna pick up some light purple, and I'm going to do the same blending method. And I'm gonna blend that purple right into our pink and working our way around. And one of the most challenging parts of painting with wine bottles was taking off the label. I didn't think that was gonna be a challenge at all, but it was. It was an ordeal. I Googled, I YouTubed, and found some really great ideas. And what ended up working was pouring some boiling water right into my, you have to be really careful because the spout is really small. So I used a kettle with a smaller spout. I poured the boiling water right into the wine bottle and I let it sit there for a few minutes so the glue on the label had a chance to soften, then peeled it right off. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up some darker purple and I'm going to use that to paint the top because I want it to be, it's a sunset sky, so I want it to be really dark at the top. And then we're gonna leave it to dry, and then we're gonna come back and add our clouds. All right, once our base coat is dry to the touch, we're gonna add in some nice white fluffy clouds over top. Using not a brush, but we're gonna use simple Q-tips. Now this is a really fun method that I've used in paintings before, and it makes it really non-intimidating to paint. Anyone can do this and you don't need any fancy tools, just a Q-tip and some white paint. So to make our clouds, I'm just gonna pick the center of my bottle to start them out. We're just gonna dot in our cloud shape, and clouds are fluffy and they're irregular, so they're not perfect by any means. And overall, like if you're gonna take a look at a cloud overall, they're usually like a triangular shape. They have a highest point, and then they have a flat line at the bottom. And then you're just gonna rinse and repeat. Can't really mess these up. And now we're going to paint in the moon. So to do that, I'm gonna grab a pencil just to sketch it at first. So basically what the trick is you wanna find something that's circular, and we're gonna use that as a stamp. Not a stamp, sorry, a stencil. So we're just gonna trace that. And then to get our crescent, we're just gonna shift it over, like maybe a centimeter or two to the right, and then we're gonna trace that. Can't remember where I learned this. It was definitely on the internet, and it's been one of the best tricks to paint in a crescent moon that I've found. So now all we're gonna do is we're going to fill that in. So now to paint in our stars, I'm gonna pick up a paint marker to do them, but you can also use a really small detailing brush with some white paint and dot on your stars. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up a small round detailing brush and some titanium white paint, and we're just gonna paint a daisy flower shape. Now daisy flowers, the petals are nice and long and they're rounded at the end. They're not pointy, they're nice and rounded. And we're just gonna repeat that petal all the way around. You can leave a little bit of a space between some of them. Daisy flowers don't have to be perfect here. Just getting that shape and having that white paint is just going to be, your daisy flowers are gonna look perfect. You can't mess up daisies. See, now we're going to repeat that all over our bottle, different areas. You can actually also vary the shape, the size of your daisy too, so you can make some of them smaller, some of them bigger. You can have the side profile of some of them. I'll do that in one of the next steps. I'll show you how to do a side profile daisy flower. So the side profile ones, it's going to look a little bit like an umbrella. So we're going to paint the daisy petals downwards and towards the center. So that one is going to be down. So that's a daisy on its side. A smaller one over here. I'm going to vary the shape. And if you don't have a blue wine bottle, like this one has a blue tinge to it, you can base coat it with a nice, either a light blue or a dark blue like I have. I find with the dark blue, the white really pops. So that's a nice benefit of having a dark background with the daisies. But I've also done a light blue background in another tutorial. I'm gonna link that in the description below. That also looks really beautiful. So we're just gonna repeat this wherever you want your daisy flowers. Add one up here. Daisies are super easy flowers to paint. We're keeping the paint nice and thin here too. We don't want it too gloopy, so it dries pretty fast. So the next step of our daisy painting is we're gonna grab a little bit of yellow on our small round brush, and we're gonna paint in the center of our daisy flowers with a nice round, simple circle. And then for these daisies that are pointed downwards, we're going to paint semicircle. If you find your yellow is a little bit translucent, you can just add a tiny bit of white. That's always a good tip when working with yellow, because the nature of yellow is very translucent. No matter what yellow you use, it's a very translucent color. So adding just a little bit of white, not too much because you don't want to change the color, but adding just a little bit can give it a little bit more opaqueness, because white, especially titanium white, has an opaque quality, so then it helps the yellow become a little bit more opaque too. So we're just going to repeat that on all of our daisy flowers, this yellow center, and then we're going to move on to the stems of our painting, which is going to be the final step. And if you're finding this tutorial helpful, I'd really love it if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So now we're going to draw the daisy stems. So I've grabbed my smallest round brush, and I have some green paint here, and I've also mixed it with just a little bit of white, because the green out of the tube, it wasn't giving enough contrast on the dark blue bottle, so I added just a tinge of white. So for the stems, we're just gonna start out at the daisy flower and just paint flowy stem all the way down to the bottom of the bottle. And here it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be straight, just nice and flowy. And if you find this is like difficult to do, another option here too is grabbing a paint marker. Sometimes paint markers give a little bit easier, it's a little bit easier to handle than a paintbrush. So sometimes I switch over to a paint marker. And also too, another tip for getting these stems, get as much control as you can with the paintbrush and the paint, is having a thinner consistency paint. Not like liquid, because then it's just gonna run down the bottle, but not having it too gloopy. So you can add a little bit of water to your stem, to your paint mixture to get it nice and flowy. My hands sometimes get a little bit shaky. They're not so steady sometimes, so that's okay. Just gonna try to go with the flow here and just get those stems on. Oh, and I'm gonna show you how it's a little bit different with a paint marker. So I have my Posca here, and I'm going to paint this one with paint marker. So as you see, it's just a little bit easier to get control with the paint when it's in a marker form. Not sure why. Maybe it's just because we're so used to holding a pen. I like to show you guys the different options available. Make your painting experience fun, and you also get to grow too. It's always important to grow your skills and to enjoy it at the same time. And we're done the stems. Now I want to go in and add some leaves with our green paint. So I'm going to grab the same paintbrush I did before, and I'm just going to add in some leaves here and there, wherever I think needs a little bit of color, or if I have a big space and I want to fill it in with something, I can add in a leaf or two. So you're gonna do this all around the bottle. And again, if you find that the green needs a little bit more to pop, you could come back and add another layer. But remember, with painting on glass, you want to make sure that the paint is completely dry below before you relayer, otherwise your paint might come off. You don't want your hard work going down the drain. This design would also look really nice on a wine glass. I know wine glasses are a popular thing that people like to paint. So you can do this design on wine glasses, you can do this design on mason jars, coasters, really anything. We're gonna paint large sunflowers straight on a glass bottle without base coating it. And to do that, we're going to use our medium round brush, and we're gonna pick up some cadmium yellow paint. And now I've mixed it in with just a tiny bit of titanium white to give it a more opaque consistency. We're going to press down on our brush, and we're gonna lift off our brush just a little bit to create a tapered edge of our petal. And then we're just gonna do that all the way down. And with painting on glass, you wanna wait for, if you're gonna layer your paint, you wanna wait for it to dry completely before layering on top, because what happens is if any of it is still tacky, it is going to pull the paint right off and you're gonna see the glass. So that's one tip with painting on glass, is just wait for your layers to completely dry, not even tacky, like dry. And also the beauty of painting on glass is if you make a mistake, you can just wipe it away really easily. So I'm just gonna use my finger there to show you. So that's the beauty of working on glass. So that's my first sunflower right there. Now I'm gonna paint my second sunflower offset just a bit, not completely under it. I'll start it right over here. And the reason I'm painting in these sunflowers on a clear bottle opposed to base coating it is I'm gonna show you a really beautiful way of displaying it at the end of this video with some nice fairy lights, and it's just gonna bring it to life. So that's my second sunflower. I'm gonna add my third sunflower down here. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger too, just to give it a little bit of variety. So our first layer of the sunflower is nice and dry, so we're just gonna go over it with another layer. Now once our sunflowers are dry to the touch, we're going to grab a little bit of brown on our round brush. Don't want too much on it, just a little bit. And we're going to paint in the center of our sunflowers. So the center of our sunflowers are going to be round, and it's pretty large. It's not a small center. Sunflowers are known for its nice, big, beautiful center, brown centers. So you're going to paint it as round as you can. And then we're going to leave that to dry. We're going to come back in the next step, and we're going to add some really nice dot details to the middle of our sunflower. For the next step of our sunflower, we're just gonna lighten up this brown paint here with just a little bit of white. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip over our paintbrush to the other side, and we're gonna use it as a dotting tool. So we're gonna grab some of that paint on the back of our paintbrush, and we're just going to dot in around the sunflower. And that brown below is nice and dry already. And it's gonna create these really crisp dots in the center of our flower, and we're just gonna repeat that. So we're gonna do the outer ring first, and then we're gonna repeat that with the inner ring. And I always enjoy using the back of the paintbrush. It shows you that you can use a tool in the way sometimes it's not intended and still create art. I'm gonna do the same. Now I'm just gonna repeat the same step to our other two sunflowers. All right, one final detail for our sunflower painting on our glass bottle. We're going to add in some green leaves just to give it something extra. You can pick and choose wherever you want those leaves to go. And you don't also need to add leaves. If you like the sunflower just as is, then you can leave out the leaves here. It's always nice to give options, different ideas you can do with painting sometimes. I might just take paint marker, because paint markers also work really well on glass too. Acrylic paint markers. I'm using these Artex ones, and I might just add some swirly whirlies. I am happy with that. I'm going to show you what that looks like up close. Now you can go over it with another coat of that green to really make it pop, or you can leave it like that and let the sunflowers take the center stage. I just want to quickly show you some additions I did to the sunflower painting on my glass bottle. So what I did was I outlined all the sunflowers with a black paint marker. And just to give it a little bit more pop on the glass bottle, I just felt like it was blending a little bit too much, so I added that black marker. I also lightened up the center of my flowers, those dots, with a lighter brown. And then I also added that outline to all the leaves and that springy curly stems, just to again bring a little bit more pop to this bottle. So as promised earlier on in the video, I wanted to share a really cool idea you can do with these clear glass bottles. So I've added an LED light, fairy light into them, and I want to thank my daughter for letting me borrow this string light for the video. Now this would look fabulous as home decor, it would look fabulous as room decor, even for a party. If you're looking for centerpiece ideas for a party, this would be a fabulous idea. This one in particular has a battery pack, so it's really clunky and obviously it won't fit inside the bottle. So if you're okay with having it hanging out of the bottle, then that's cool. But I also found this product on Amazon, which is specifically made for the situation. So they're basically fairy lights that are made for wine bottles, and the battery pack is actually in a cork that sits on the top of your bottle. I'm gonna link the product in the description below if you're interested. So I hope you guys like this idea. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. The last thing I want to mention is that if you want to seal the paint on your bottle, if you want to make sure that the paint doesn't peel or scratch off, you can go ahead and seal it with a coat of top coat or sealer. Here I have a spray can variety, which has a matte finish. And the spray can variety, I find it makes it easier to do if you're doing like a batch of them. You can do multiple in a shorter time versus the brush on, but you have to do this outside because it has a lot of fumes. If you don't want to be exposed to the fumes, then you can also use a brush on variety. It does take a little bit longer and you have to be very careful because sometimes I find when you're using the brush on variety, it sometimes peels away the paint if you brush on too hard. So if you're using the brush on sealer, then just try to apply it really, really lightly and gently, and it should do the trick. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed all these bottle painting ideas. Now, if you're looking for more eco-friendly and inexpensive things to paint on, check out this rock painting video right over here. And as always, sending you lots of peace, love, and color your way.